Hi, Maria. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
Now, Annovis is conducting 2 phase 2 trials of neurodegenerative diseases. I want to start with an overview of these programs.
Yes. So as of this month, we actually are in 2 phase 2 studies. One, the first one was started a few years ago. It's paid for by the NIA, and it is in early Alzheimer's disease. That study has recruited to date 14 patients, and it was put on hold because of COVID-19. However, it is restarting with patient 15 on August 27. The second study is a comparison between Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients. So we are actually recruiting both patient populations. We are treating them the same way, and we're looking at the endpoints the same way. That study is also starting this month. And it is very important to us to show that in both patient populations, nerve cells die the same way, and nerve cells are recovered by our drug the same way. So that study really will show that our drug works in more than one neurodegenerative disease, and it works by recovering nerve cells and protecting them from dying.
Talk to us about the value proposition, or why you think investors should take an interest in Annovis Bio today.
Yes, similar companies that are in phase 2 and are developing neurodegenerative drugs have a much, much higher valuation than we do. So we strongly believe that we are undervalued. We also strongly believe as the data of the phase 2 studies are coming in, we will have a huge inflection in price and be worth a lot more.
Okay. I want to talk more about your approach to Alzheimer's and how it's different from the many failed trials over the last 20 years. And I also will note that you're really the inventor of this drug, right?
As you just said, in the last 20 years, over 500 studies have failed. And the reason most of them has failed is that everybody has been barking up the wrong tree. They said that amyloid beta is toxic and cause of Alzheimer's disease. This is really what we believed 20 years ago. In the last 8 or 9 years, though, it has become progressively clear that while A beta and plaque are toxic, they're not the cause of Alzheimer's disease. So today, we much better understand the brain, and we know that when a nerve cell gets injured, and that could be by old age, it could be by chemicals, it could be by anything, by traumatic brain injury, by an infection, what happens is that neurotoxic proteins, including A beta, they go up. What they do, they impair the information highway of the nerve cell. And what we know today is that a nerve cell cannot communicate, it dies. And once the information highway is impaired, we have inflammation in the brain and we have nerve cell death. What our drug does, it increases and improves and normalizes the information highway of the nerve cell. That keeps the nerve cell healthy and happy. There is no inflammation, there are no dead nerve cells, and the function associated with that nerve cell is preserved. So we actually treat neurodegeneration by improving the information highway and protecting nerve cells from dying.
So potentially this is a major world-shattering breakthrough if this drug works. Now, we showed safety in phase 1. When do we think we'll start seeing some interim data on these trials?
I obviously really believe that this is a breakthrough drug because in animal models we have shown that it works in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Down syndrome, frontotemporal dementia, and in blindness. Now, the studies, as I was saying, one is restarting in August and the other is starting in August, and we expect preliminary data by first quarter of next year. What preliminary data is going to show us in January or February is that our drug reverses the toxic cascade in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's patients. The rest of the study will be ongoing and it will finish in summer of next year. But basically, we really expect the preliminary data to show us what we want to see, that the drug protects nerve cells from dying.
And what are some of the clinical sites for the trials?
We have so far fully operational 12 sites. And unfortunately, a number of them are in the South because elderly people retire in the South. So we have a number in Florida, in Texas, and in California. However, we also have sites in Utah, in Michigan, and in fact, the two first sites that are going to recruit patients later this month are in Michigan and Utah.
So in terms of milestones, then we have the interim data coming up, you believe, first quarter, more data maybe in the summer. Anything else that we can expect coming up in terms of catalyst?
Well, obviously, the tox study in the chronic toxicology study in rats and dogs is very important. Even though we have treated 120 people with our drug and we know it's safe, the FDA wants you to conduct long-term chronic tox studies in animals with much higher doses. So we finished the rats, and it was safe in rats. The dogs have another 2 months to go. And I would say within 3 months, we will have the toxicology, which we then can show to the FDA, and it will allow us to treat patients forever, for as long as we want.
Maria, you announced a patent for a method of inhibiting and preventing and treating neurological injuries from viral infections such as COVID-19. What can you tell us about this patent?
While it might seem that it's unrelated, it's really not. Whenever a nerve cell is attacked, and it can be attacked by a bacterium, by a virus, by COVID-19, it reacts the same way. It increases the levels of neurotoxic proteins. The information highway is shut down, inflammation goes up, and the nerve cell dies. And our drug reverses the toxic cascade that goes from inhibiting the information highway to dead nerve cells. And it does so whether the nerve cell has been attacked by old age, by infective agents like COVID-19, by traumatic brain injury, by being stretched, pulled. So interestingly enough, in the last 8 years, researchers and we have found that nerve cells die the same way and get injured the same way, whether it's a virus or whether it's a traumatic brain injury or whether it's old age.
Excellent, excellent. To recap, Maria, what's the main takeaway for investors today?
The main takeaway is that we have 2 clinical trials, one that reads out preliminary in January, which actually will be a huge inflection point in our stock. And the second part of that, plus the other one, will read out sometimes later in the year, between summer and fall of next year. This is quite amazing for a company to have data in Alzheimer's and in Parkinson's disease and show that the same pathway leads to nerve cell death and the same drug leads to recovery of nerve cells.
Maria, it's a remarkable story. Thanks for being with us today.
I do think it is a remarkable story, and thank you very much for having me.